Hey there, lovely ladies. Welcome back to Timeless Wisdom. Let me paint a familiar picture. You're out running a few errands, maybe picking up groceries or simply enjoying a stroll in the park, when suddenly, that feeling hits again. That all too familiar, awkward, frustrating sensation that catches you off guard. You try to ignore it. Maybe you shift around a little, cross your legs, crack a joke to lighten the moment. But inside, you're quietly thinking, why does this keep happening to me? Is this just part of getting older? Am I ever going to feel normal again? If you've ever had a little accident or didn't make it to the bathroom in time, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You're not alone. And no, this isn't something you just have to accept as normal with age. Here's the truth. Way too many women are silently coping with bladder leaks. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you've felt embarrassed. Maybe you've skipped social events, avoided travel, or worried about someone noticing during family dinners or long car rides. But let's get real. This isn't just about leaks. It's about your confidence, your comfort, and your right to live without stress and shame. And more women are going through this than you think. That's why today's video matters. We're going to talk about it openly and honestly. Because the good news is, this isn't hopeless. In fact, doctors have identified 8 everyday habits that could be making things worse. And the even better news? Changing just 1 or 2 can make a world of difference. In today's episode, I'm going to walk you through those habits, things many of us do without thinking, that might be putting extra pressure on our bladder health. And don't worry, I'm not just going to tell you what not to do. I'll give you clear, simple ways to take control and start turning things around today. Because this isn't just about saving your pants. It's about reclaiming your life, your freedom, your peace of mind. So if you've ever felt embarrassed, tired, or just frustrated dealing with bladder issues, I'm inviting you to stay with me for the next few minutes. This conversation is for you. And if any of this hits home, go ahead and drop a quick "I'm here" in the comments. Let's show each other that we're not alone and we're not ashamed. And before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom. This channel is your safe space to talk about real life, real bodies, and real solutions. With honesty, warmth, and zero judgment. All right, ladies, let's jump into the 8 bladder habits that could be making your leaks worse and what you can do to finally take charge. Let's start with habit number 1. And this one might surprise you. Drinking less water to avoid leaks. Now, at first glance, that probably sounds logical, doesn't it? If your bladder is leaking, it must mean it's too full. So, the less you drink, the fewer accidents you'll have, right? Well, not exactly. Let me tell you about Rita. She's 72, lives alone, and loves tending to her small backyard garden. One day, she started noticing she was having bladder leaks during her early evening walks, so she made a decision. No more water after 5 p.m. At first, she thought it was working, but within a few days she felt dizzy, lightheaded and constipated. Her mouth was always dry, her energy was lower, and strangely, the leaks didn't go away. They got worse. Why? Because when you don't drink enough water, your body becomes dehydrated, and when your bladder doesn't get enough clean fluid, your urine becomes concentrated, more acidic, more irritating. That makes the bladder lining more sensitive and more likely to spasm. And those spasms, they create that sudden urgency, that feeling like you've got to go right now or else. So even though it sounds like less water would mean fewer leaks, it actually puts your bladder under more stress. You might not realize it, but dehydration is a common problem among older adults, especially women. And when you're not properly hydrated, your bladder becomes irritated, overactive, and a lot harder to control. Here's the better approach. Sip water throughout the day. Don't chug, just take small sips regularly. Keep a water bottle or glass nearby. And yes, you can cut back on fluids 1 to 2 hours before bed to avoid those midnight wake-up calls. But don't starve your body of water, because the truth is a calm, well-hydrated bladder is much easier to manage than a dry, irritated one. You don't need to live thirsty to stay dry. Now, water is one thing, but let's talk about what else you might be drinking that's doing even more harm than you realize. Habit number 2, drinking too much caffeine. Let me introduce you to Margaret. She's 68, retired, and enjoys peaceful mornings on her porch. Her daily routine: a warm cup of coffee with the sunrise, then another with breakfast, and usually one more by mid-morning. By noon, she'd had 3 cups, and every day, like clockwork, she was rushing to the bathroom all afternoon, sometimes making it, sometimes not. Margaret thought nothing of it at first. "It's just coffee," she'd say. But here's what was happening behind the scenes. Caffeine, whether it's in coffee, tea, sodas, or even some chocolates, acts as a diuretic, which means it tells your kidneys, let's get rid of water faster. And it's also a bladder stimulant. It makes the bladder muscles more active, more twitchy, and far more likely to squeeze without warning. So, if you're sipping on several cups of coffee or tea throughout the day, you're basically telling your bladder, get ready, we're going to be busy. And here's a common misconception. Most people assume only alcohol causes urgency. But caffeine is often the bigger, sneakier culprit, especially because we drink it daily and we rarely question it. Now, you don't have to give up your favourite mug entirely, but it's worth experimenting. Try switching to decaf, or even better, herbal teas that are naturally soothing, like chamomile or rooibos. And if you still want your morning pick-me-up, limit it to just 1 cup and avoid any caffeine after lunch. Because when your bladder isn't being poked and prodded all day by stimulants, it starts to relax. And so do you. Now, speaking of habits, let's talk about one of the sneakiest culprits of all. It doesn't come in a cup or a bottle. It's something you probably do every day without realizing how much it's affecting your bladder. Habit number 3, poor posture while sitting. Let me tell you about Louise. She's 75 and lives with her daughter and grandkids. She spends a lot of her day in a cozy recliner, watching her favourite shows, knitting, or just resting. At first, it seemed like the perfect way to relax, until the backache started, then the hip pain, then the bladder pressure. Before long, she found herself struggling to hold her urine, even when she hadn't had much to drink. She was confused. She hadn't changed anything, except how much time she was spending sitting. Here's what many people don't realize. When you slouch, especially for long periods, you're compressing your bladder without even knowing it. Your pelvic organs, including your bladder, uterus, and bowel, are supported by a network of muscles and ligaments. But when you hunch over or sink into a recliner without support, all that pressure shifts forward and downward. Over time, this puts strain on the pelvic floor, the very group of muscles responsible for keeping everything in place and helping you control when and how you go. And yet, we rarely think about posture when it comes to bladder health. So here's a simple fix. When you sit, especially for long stretches, make sure your feet are flat on the ground, your back is supported, and your spine is upright. Not rigid, just supported. A small lumbar cushion behind your lower back can make a huge difference. And try not to stay seated for more than 30 to 45 minutes without standing up for a stretch or short walk. Your posture isn't just about your back. It's about protecting the entire system that keeps your bladder healthy. But posture alone isn't enough, not if the muscles that hold everything together are already weak. Which brings us to habit number 4, ignoring pelvic floor exercises. Now, this one hits home for a lot of women, especially those who've gone through childbirth, menopause, or simply the natural aging process. Joan is 70. She raised 4 kids and worked most of her life on her feet. For years, she accepted the occasional bladder leaks as just what happens after a certain age. She figured it was normal, but no one ever told her about Kegels. See, Your pelvic floor muscles are like a sling, holding your bladder, your uterus, and your bowel in place. But just like any other muscle, they weaken over time if we don't use them. And the more those muscles weaken, the less control you have over when and how you go. There's a big misconception out there that pelvic floor exercises are only for young women or new mums. But let me tell you, the women who need them the most are the ones who've already lived full, beautiful lives. Women like you. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need a gym membership. Just a few minutes a day, even while you're brushing your teeth, watching TV, or lying in bed. Tighten those muscles like you're trying to stop the flow of urine. Hold for a few seconds, then release. Start with 5 reps and work your way up. It might feel odd at first, but stick with it. These little movements rebuild strength, improve control, and remind your body that you're still in charge. And while we're on the subject of muscles, there's another habit that's surprisingly common, and it's probably affecting your bladder every single night. Habit number 5, avoiding physical activity. Let me tell you about Clara. She's 80 and lives with her son. After a minor fall last winter, it shook her confidence, understandably. Since then, she stayed mostly in bed or on the couch, just to be safe. She thought resting more would help her heal and stay in control. But something unexpected happened. Her bladder issues got worse, more urgency, more leaks, less warning. And that confused her. She wasn't moving, wasn't drinking much, wasn't doing anything to trigger it. But here's the thing. When your body stops moving, especially your core and pelvic muscles, they begin to weaken. And those are the very muscles that support your bladder and help it stay in place. Think of it like the foundation of a house. When it gets soft or unstable, everything on top starts to shift and sag. A lot of seniors, especially women, believe that rest is safer, that it protects them from falling or hurting themselves. But too much rest leads to weaker muscles, reduced coordination, and a bladder that just can't hold on the way it used to. You don't need to run marathons or lift weights. Even gentle walking around the house, a short stroll down the hallway, or chair exercises that work your legs and lower core can help activate those muscles again. Try simple movements like marching in place while seated, or tightening your tummy muscles while you breathe. Small steps, literally, can bring big improvements in bladder control and overall confidence. Now, sometimes it's not what you do with your body, it's what you put into your body that's causing the issue. That brings us to habit number 6, eating bladder-irritating foods. Helen is 73. She's always been a bit of a foodie. She loves her spicy dinners, citrus fruits in the morning, and the occasional diet soda. But lately, her nights have been rough, waking up multiple times to rush to the bathroom, sometimes not making it in time. At first, she thought it was just aging, but then she started noticing a pattern. The nights when she had spicy food, or oranges, or that no-calorie sweetened drink, those were the worst nights. Here's what's really going on. Some foods, even the healthy ones, can irritate the lining of your bladder, making it more sensitive, inflamed, and reactive. Common triggers include spicy sauces, tomato-based dishes, citrus fruits like oranges or grapefruits, vinegar-heavy salads, and even artificial sweeteners, especially in diet sodas or sugar-free snacks. The misconception is that if a food is healthy, it must be good for every part of the body. But your bladder has its own sensitivities, and what's fine for your heart or digestion might be very unfriendly down below. Here's what you can do. Start a bladder diary. Keep track of what you eat and drink and when your symptoms flare up. You might start noticing patterns you never expected, then slowly reduce or swap out those trigger foods. Instead of orange juice, try apple or pear. Instead of spicy salsa, opt for mild, bladder-friendly herbs. Because managing your bladder isn't about giving up everything you love. It's about finding what works best for your body. Habit number 7, holding it in too long. Let's talk about Deborah. She's 75, sharp as ever and always put together. She loves attending book club and Sunday brunch with her friends. But one thing she hates is excusing herself to go to the restroom in public. She told herself it was about manners, that it would be rude to interrupt a conversation, or that using public bathrooms felt embarrassing or uncomfortable. So she'd hold it, and hold it, and hold it, until one day on her way home from a gathering it happened. A leak. Unexpected, uncontrolled, and worse, humiliating. She thought, how could this happen? I was trying to prevent an accident by waiting. But here's what most people don't know. When you hold your urine too long, you're actually stretching your bladder past its comfort zone. Just like overstretching a rubber band, your bladder can lose its elasticity and strength. The muscles weaken, the signals to go become less clear, and over time, your bladder just stops cooperating. There's a huge misconception that holding it in trains your bladder to get stronger. But the truth is the opposite. You're overworking it. You're pushing it beyond what it's built to do. Instead, listen to your body. Try to use the restroom every 2 to 4 hours, even if it's just a small urge, especially before leaving the house or settling in for the night. Because the more consistent you are, the more control you'll actually have. Now, we've talked about drinks, posture, muscles, movement, and habits. But all of it could go unnoticed if you're still making one of the most harmful and overlooked mistakes of all. Habit number 8, not talking to your doctor. Let me introduce you to Eileen. Eileen is 78 and a proud grandmother of 6. For years, she quietly dealt with leaks, urgency, and nighttime trips to the bathroom, but she never said a word to her doctor. Why? Because she didn't want to be a bother. She thought bladder issues were too personal, too embarrassing, and besides, she believed it was just part of getting older. Then one Sunday, while singing in the church choir, she felt that familiar sensation. And this time, it wasn't just a little leak. She had a full accident, right there in front of friends and family. She was devastated. But here's the part that really shocked her. When she finally opened up to her doctor about it, she found out there were simple, discreet treatments available. And better yet, her symptoms were actually related to a mild bladder condition that could be managed. You see, urinary issues in older women aren't just a normal part of aging. They can be a sign of urinary tract infections, pelvic organ prolapse, overactive bladder syndrome, hormonal changes, or even reactions to medications. And many of these have non-surgical, low-risk solutions: pelvic therapy, dietary adjustments, medications, bladder training plans, even just changing your daily habits. But none of those solutions can help you if you're silent. Your doctor is there to support you, not judge you. They've heard it all. And believe me, you're not alone in this. So take a deep breath, pick up the phone, and make that appointment. Because talking to your doctor might just be the thing that gives you your confidence back. Now that we've covered these 8 powerful habits, let's take a moment to talk about what this really means for your life, your dignity, and your sense of freedom. Living in fear of a bathroom accident, it can feel like your body is betraying you, like you can't trust it anymore. You find yourself constantly scanning for the nearest restroom, worrying about what to wear, what to drink, when to leave the house, or whether you even should. And slowly, without even realizing it, you start shrinking your world, saying no to invitations, staying home just in case, hesitating to laugh too hard, walk too far, or sit too long. It can feel isolating, embarrassing, even shameful. But here's the truth you need to hear right now. You are not alone. Thousands, millions of women are facing this same struggle quietly. And too many of them think it's just the price of aging, that it's too late to change, that the damage is done. But it isn't. Not even close. This isn't just about avoiding leaks. It's about something much deeper. It's about reclaiming your confidence, your joy, your peace of mind, your dignity, because you deserve to feel comfortable in your body, to walk into any room without fear, to live fully, without planning your life around the restroom. So let me ask you this. Did any of those 8 habits sound familiar? Have you caught yourself drinking less water, skipping exercise, holding it in out of politeness, avoiding that conversation with your doctor? If you recognized even one of those, that's your starting point. Just one small shift this week. Maybe it's doing 5 minutes of pelvic floor exercises before bed. Maybe it's replacing that 3rd cup of coffee with a glass of water. Maybe it's calling your doctor and finally bringing it up. Whatever it is, take that step. Because this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. And every change you make brings you closer to freedom. Freedom from fear, from embarrassment, from the quiet shame no one talks about, but so many live with. Let me remind you again, you're not broken, you're not weak, and you're definitely not alone. You're a woman with strength, with wisdom, with stories to tell, and years left to enjoy. There is hope, there are solutions, and there is still time to feel like yourself again. You don't have to live in silence. You don't have to accept this as your new normal. Take one small action today, because you're worth it, because your comfort matters, because you deserve to feel free again. Let's take a moment to gently recap what we've learned today. The 8 habits that doctors warn senior women to avoid so you can stop wetting your pants and start feeling confident again are: 1. Skipping water, thinking it'll prevent leaks. 2. Drinking too much caffeine, like coffee or soda, without realizing it's triggering your bladder. 3. Poor posture, especially during long periods of sitting, which puts extra pressure where it shouldn't be. 4. Neglecting your pelvic floor, when just 5 minutes of Kegels a day could make all the difference. 5. Avoiding physical activity when gentle movement actually strengthens the very muscles that help you stay in control. 6. Eating bladder-irritating foods like citrus, spicy sauces, or artificial sweeteners without realizing they're causing inflammation. 7. Holding it in too long, which can overstretch the bladder and make leaks more likely. 8. Not talking to your doctor, perhaps the most important one, because help is out there and you deserve it. Now take a deep breath with me. You don't have to change all 8 habits overnight. Just start with one. Just one small shift. And that could be the turning point that brings you closer to comfort, confidence, and a life without fear. Let me ask you something straight from the heart. Which of these habits surprised you the most? Or maybe you recognized one or more from your own experience. Scroll down and share it in the comments. I'd truly love to hear your story, because when we speak up, we create space for others to do the same. You never know. Your words might be the exact encouragement another woman needs today. And if this video helped you better understand what your body's been trying to tell you, or even brought you a little peace, could I ask you for a small favor? Tap that like button to let me know. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit subscribe to Timeless Wisdom. Here on Timeless Wisdom, we don't shy away from the real stuff. We talk openly about the things most people tiptoe around, offering real talk, real solutions, and a whole lot of hope. New videos drop regularly, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Because your health matters. Your comfort matters. You matter. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I hope you leave this video feeling more seen, more heard, and a whole lot more empowered. Stay strong, stay curious, and above all, keep living with wisdom and courage. I'll see you in the next one, right here on Timeless Wisdom.